Oh, hello. This is Mound Maker, and today I'm going to try to answer a simple question. Is Elden Ring Nightreign a failure? And for returning viewers, you know I normally do guides. And I do have part 1 of my second series on exploration guides planned for next week. But I'm going to try something a little different here. I'm also going to try to get this whole video done from script to your table in 3 hours. Just a little challenge for myself. So, a lot less editing and a shorter video overall. Now, before we try to answer the question at hand, let's go back to December of 2012. I had just moved into what was basically a 2-room shack down a dirt road. It was my first time living on my own, and I was basically broke. So I didn't have any internet. My friend, who was a hardcore gamer, let me borrow one of his Xbox 360s. He also let me borrow a bunch of games that were all single player, since I didn't have any internet. Shortly after that, a snowstorm hit. And on the night of the snowstorm, I popped a game called Dark Souls into the 360's tray and closed it. I had work the next day, but based on how much snow was falling, it was clear to me that I was getting a snow day. So, I played Dark Souls, and I died over and over, and I died over and over again, even more dying, and then suddenly, the sun was up. It was already the next morning. But I continued on until 10 a.m., when I finally passed out on the couch. When I woke up, many hours later, it was still snowing. And my character was still sitting there on the screen, waiting for me to tell him the next plan. Well, the plan was going to be to get a snowstorm that was so bad that I had off work for the whole week. And from there, the plan was basically shower, eat, use the bathroom, barely sleep, and beat the game that currently seemed impossible. And with no strategy guide, no YouTube on a Saturday, 6 days, at least 1,000 deaths, and around 100 hours into this marathon, I finally beat Dark Souls. And as the snow melted outside, I screamed and laughed like a madman, or more appropriately, like a mound maker. I've had a lot of victories and great moments in life since, but that was peak life for me. What does all this have to do with the topic? Well, the whole experience started my love affair with FromSoft games. And since then, I've picked up every From game on day 1. And I've never had a regret. Yes, even Dark Souls 2. But that almost changed a few months ago. I did not enjoy my first few runs in Nightrain, to the point I felt regret. I didn't enjoy that I had to pick a pre-made character. I didn't enjoy the Battle Royale circle closing. I'm methodical. I like to take my time through things, and here's the circle tell me I have to fight with a lot more urgency. I didn't enjoy how hard the enemies seemed. At the end of my day 1 playing Nightrain, I was 0-12. Not in beating the Night Lord, but even in getting to the Night Lord. 0-12. And I sent my friend, the same one that got me into this game, a text. It read, "I think only speedrunners are going to like this game, and I'm no speedrunner." And here we are, 6 months later, and I'm enjoying this game so much that it made me come out of my Dark Souls content creation retirement. And I play this game with most of my gaming free time. But there are a lot of players that have stopped playing it. And I see the dissent. They don't like the game. But personal opinion does not make a statue. A statue is made of concrete, or sometimes a more valuable or less valuable material. But what it's not made with is air, which is what an opinion is made of. So, can we determine if Nightrain is a success based on something more material than opinion. Well, yes. Yes, we can. But it's not perfect. It's more like concrete, not like gold. You see, Nightrain was released on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. And PlayStation and Xbox do not share game statistics, but PC does. Steam has multiple sites that track player counts, and one of those sites is Steam Charts. Steam Charts shows average amount of players playing a game and breaks it down many different ways. Today, we're going to be looking at how much those player counts decrease. So more or less, how many players a game loses each month after its release. And we're going to be looking at Nightrain, but also looking at 8 comparable games. 4 are FromSoft games, and 4 are Souls-like games from non-FromSoft companies that had some hype over the last few years. So, what does the chart show? Well, I'm not going to edge the content. I'm going to give it to you, and I'm going to give it to you all at once. So here's each game's first 6 months on Steam. As you see, as far as FromSoft games is concerned, Nightrain has maintained a better percentage of the players continuing to play the game after 6 months than any of the other FromSoft games. If you just compare Nightrain to base game Elden Ring, there's almost 3 times as many players who started the first month continuing to play the game 6 months later. In fact, only Remnant 2 has a higher percentage rate than Nightrain. And this makes sense. Nightrain is designed to keep a higher percentage of players playing rather than just beating it and walking away. It solves the problem other Souls games have, where the average player beats it and doesn't touch it again until the DLC drops. Then they beat the DLC and don't touch it again until the next game is announced, at which point they play it to anticipate the next one better. So, if you say Nightrain was a failure, then you're essentially saying every game on your screen was also a failure. And in most cases, much more of a failure than Nightrain was, at least as far as maintaining its player base goes. And I hope that From can look at the facts this game has maintained its player base better than any of their other games and figure out how to incorporate a better gameplay loop into future releases. With that said, I'm going to end with a simple question. Would you like to see future FromSoft games incorporate something like the Relic system into the game? If I had to guess why Nightrain has maintained its player base so well, I would say number 1 is because it consistently updates content and because of the run variety you can get from boss to boss and map to map. But a close number 2 is that Relic system, which keeps players chasing god rolls and allows for a greater build and playstyle variety. If you incorporated that with also being able to create your own character and set your own stats, then it would allow even more variety than any Souls game that's ever been released.